Hello everyone, welcome to Durrett's Take. Happy Monday, let's get started. So what I'm going to be doing is going over my disagreements with the selection committee here. Now I'm not going to go over any minor disagreements. For example, like I had Colorado as a 6 seed, and ended up being a 5 seed. That's not one seed line, not a major difference there. I'm not going to fight about that. But let's discuss some of my disagreements. Well, let's start off with some of the bubble teams. Now, besides the first four teams, I'm also concerning, or I was also counting teams like like Syracuse and Utah State as part, or Maryland, like as these bubble type teams. But so let's start with so Utah State. So I thought because they lost the Mountain West Championship, I thought if they were in, they were going to barely be in, like potentially second last team in, or not barely out, but they avoided the last four and therefore avoided a playing game, which I thought was a little surprising. They unfortunately did not get a favorable matchup against Texas Tech, but that's another discussion for another day. I was wrong there. Um, and then Michigan State, they were a Final Four team in. Yes, I know they had a losing record in the Big Ten, and typically I'm on the side of if you have a losing record within conference, yeah, you shouldn't be in the tournament. But I mean, with COVID and also the Big Ten being literally the best conference in basketball, they had 9 teams get into the tournament, and Michigan State being Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio State. I just don't see how Utah State didn't have to play in the last 4 games with their resume over Michigan State. I mean, that doesn't really make much sense there. And then the other big bubble thing I did not get is they chose Wichita State to be in over Louisville. Now, Wichita State, they did beat Houston once. That's obviously a very good win. Houston's a 2 seed. I understand that. But they do not have any other impressive wins at all. Show me another impressive win. You can't find it. And then they do have a bad loss in the conference tournament against Cincinnati, who's not even a top 100 team, might not even be a top 150 team. Like, that's a very bad loss to have in the conference tournament. So I feel like that loss should have kept Wichita State out of the tournament. And also the metrics and stuff didn't favor them either. So I was just really confused on how they put Wichita State in over Louisville. They have multiple wins against tournament teams and multiple wins against other bubble-ish teams as well, and they play in the harder conference in ACC. I just don't get that at all. But now let's discuss some other surprises. So I had Oklahoma as 4 or 5 seed, most likely 5 seed, and they ended up being an 8 seed. That's a slap in the face right there. Because when you're the 8 or 9 seed, then you have to face the 1 seed next round, which means you're most likely going to lose. So it hinders your chance of making a run and stuff like that, which Oklahoma could have done if they were the different seed. But man, that just sucks for Oklahoma. Because now you have to face Gonzaga if you beat Missouri, so good luck with that. Virginia Tech is a 10 seed, surprised me as well. I had them between a 5 to 7 range, most likely 6 or 7. I just had the I'm starting to get the feeling though that the ACC got definitely disrespected here because Duke was down and stuff like that. Because I mean, yeah, for Virginia and Florida State, those are 4 seeds, but it's just like they had Georgia Tech, who won the ACC tournament and was rolling to end the season as a 9 seed. I thought they could have been a tiny bit higher. They had Virginia Tech, Tennessee, like I just mentioned, they should have been a 7 seed. They also had, like I said, Louisville not in the tournament at all, and I thought they should be in the tournament. And then, of course, Duke didn't make it. And then UNC barely got a single digit seed. So it was just really confusing for me how they see. Usually, it gets regarded as the top conference in basketball, did not, which I understand it wasn't top 2 or 3 this time around, but it was still a good conference. So I'm surprised they, you know, or disrespected them. I'm not sure if that was their intention or it's just something that I happened to notice, but either or, I just thought it was weird. Also, I had Creighton as a 7 seed, and they got some love from the community by being a 5 seed. I think they're overrated, and hopefully hope they get exposed in the tournament, losing the first round. So those are my 4 main disagreements, if you will. There, yes, I have other minor ones, like I said, but they're relevant. But now to go over some notes about the bracket itself, and keep in mind I'll reveal my predictions and share my podcast either Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't decided which. my first takeaway is all the number one seeds actually um, don't have um, an easy path per se to the Final Four, but you can even say even to the Elite Eight or even Sweet 16. Now Gonzaga, I mean, like I said, they got to face Oklahoma next round most likely. That'd be a tough matchup. Although let's be honest, I think Gonzaga will still be a tough matchup. And then it's like LSU, like as an AC, they can upset Michigan, especially if one of their best players, Livers, is still injured. I could totally see that happening. They lost by 2-1 Alabama in the SEC title game. And they just beat 3 seed Arkansas recently. So they've been playing really well. So yeah, and then Baylor, like if between Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech wins that, they're the AC champions versus Baylor. That's another tough 1A matchup there. Like typically, I always favor 1C matches versus the 8 or 9 seed, but this time it's like these 8 or 9 seeds, whoever comes out, those kind of giving me positive consideration, if you will. This another takeaway is to watch out for the 6 seeds here. Now, typically a 6 seed gets upset a lot by 11 seed, but I think you may be surprised this year how deep a couple of these 6 seeds could go. And then a third takeaway is watch out for the 5-12 matchup. We always have to watch out for those every year because there's always an upset there. But I think all 4 12 seeds in this one could legitimately win. Um, that's how impressed I am by the 12 seed series, 5 seed matchup. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then my last takeaway is there are a few teams I think that could be called Cinderella teams, and when it's all said and done. And my definition of a Cinderella team is you're a 7 seed or higher. Um, and in my opinion, the 3 teams are one, LSU as an 8 seed again, because I feel like with Michigan losing Livers, I feel like they could potentially upset there and go to the Sweet 16. And if they can go there, I feel like they can go even further, having a potential rematch with Alabama or something like that. And then Georgia Tech against 8 seed, as a 9 seed, they beat Loyola Chicago, then I feel like they match up well against Baylor, and if they can win that, I feel like then the sky's the limit for them. Another one's more of a double-digit seed. I think Georgetown could potentially make a run. So I'll be interested to see what happens there. So those are my teams to watch out for, if you will. Now a lot of people are saying other teams like Ohio. Yeah, I think Ohio can get a first game upset, but are they going to make a run and beat that Cinderella team? Not sure. Same with the Winthrops, UC Santa Barbara, or Michigan State or something like that. I mean, I can see them getting upset, but I don't see them like making the actual run per se. So that's as far as March Madness goes, and again, I'll reveal my bracket on either Wednesday or Thursday. So let's go ahead and talk about Cam Newton. I mean, the Patriots have been very busy the past weekend or so, but I want to talk about the Cam Newton one specifically because since he scored his most important deal there. It was reported to be a $14 million deal, but apparently, and like all that's based on rewards and incentives still. Yes, it's not really $14 million. But anyways, the question here remains: is this the right move for the Patriots? The answer is heck no. However, it may have been the only option. Let me explain. So I assume their number one choice was to trade for Jimmy G. Well, the reports say they tried, but the 49ers didn't want to do it. Okay. Then another option was to trade for Sam Darnold. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think there's a couple things there. One, the Jets don't want to make a trade with Belichick and see Sam twice a year and have success in their own division, so I don't think they're going to do that. And even if they did do that, I still feel like the Jets are still, again, waiting to see what the best offer is for Darnold and then see if they even are going to move on from it at some point. So I don't think the Patriots want to wait for that. Then they could have brought in someone new or cheap, like a Ryan Fitzpatrick or Andy Dalton, 2 reliable veterans or something like that. But then they have to relearn the playbook all over again. And stuff like that. They have to go through the same thing they did last year, basically. And then there's the people who think, Stidham deserves a chance. But there's a reason they started Brian Hoyer when Cam was out with COVID. And the reason why they rushed Cam back when he was clear 100% right after COVID, because you can tell they did not want to go with Stidham. So the final choice here was, okay, we can either bring Cam back for a year who knows the system, be someone in the playoff mix, or we can draft a QB in the draft and start him as a rookie and hope as a rookie he's able to flourish. Well, relying your franchise on a QB rookie, unless you're like a Trevor Lawrence type of QB rookie or something like that, is a very risky move to take. So it makes sense for them to get Cam Newton for a year and then, like I said, still draft a QB. Now, if they don't draft a QB in the first round, and I think that's a serious mistake there because, again, I don't think Cam Newton is a franchise QB anymore. I barely think he's even a starter anymore, quite frankly. But you have Cam Newton for a year, unless they get Mac Jones or Trey Lance, and he sits behind for a year, learns the system, all that. Then he can eventually take over as the franchise QB, and then everything can be hopefully kumbaya in New England. So, like I said, while this wasn't the best choice, the right choice, it happens to be their only choice. So now, lastly, I want to talk about some NBA moves, and more players can be on the move via trade before the trading deadline here. Eric Gordon could have been as well, but with his injury, that door closed. So the main person I'm going to focus on is PJ Tucker. I think whichever team gets him is going to be satisfied. He's a good forward he can play with, a good small ball land with. He's good at shooting threes. He's a good defender, good rebounder especially. The only concern, though, is that he's getting up there in age. He's 35 years old, so I'm not sure how many more good years he has left in the tank. So therefore, he needs to try to win a championship if he can. But here are my top 5 choices for him. 1, the 76ers. Why? Daryl Morey was Houston's GM when Tucker was there, so there's a connection there. Besides Seth Curry and Embiid and maybe Tobias Harris, they need more shooters around, especially since Sims can't do it. So then Tucker can come in, still play defense, and not lose that part of it for the 76ers, but then be able to shoot 3 and spread the floor, which would be good. Now, I'm not sure who they have to trade. I think they might have to trade one of their best defenders that they drafted last year in Thibault, and then probably another pick, and then that would be enough for a trade there. But I think Morey, we know he's a risk taker, and I feel like he would be willing to pull the dice here. Next is the Lakers. Why? Simple. Lakers are not a great three-point shooting team. Now you got streaky shooters like KCP, Marquise Morris, Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, Marcus Gasol, stuff like that, and even LeBron James did great because he's kind of off and on. So to have a more reliable three-point shooter, another person to carry the rebound load and the defense load from an aging LeBron will be the piece that they need to make sure they can contend, especially with AD continue to be out for weeks. Now, who they have to give up? I'm not sure. Maybe they have to give up Marquise Morris, that Tucker Horton guy, and then maybe Jared Dudley, Alex Caruso, and that'll be enough to do it. So if I'm Lakers, I go after them. Next one is the Clippers. I don't think I need to explain why at this point. I think you know this would be a good match. The Clippers need more three-point shoot at the bench. It's not as good as last year's bench. And Tucker will help solve that issue. When Kawhi goes to the bench, then there's your board guy who will get boards like Kawhi doesn't, be a defender. I think they would most likely trade Luke Kennard and then maybe Nicholas Batum to get Tucker, and that should be worth it. And we know owner Steve Ballmer is so aggressive, so it makes sense for him to go do it. Fourth is the Utah Jazz. You may be thinking, why them? The Jazz love to shoot threes, and what does Tucker do to shoot threes? Plus, he can help defend and rebound, especially when Gobert's not on the floor, because when he's on the bench, the Jazz defense sucks. And this will help them get, in my opinion, past the Lakers and Suns, stuff like that, cement them as the best in the West, because right now they're, for the past 10 games before and now after also, they're kind of teetering just average right now, so they kind of need a spark if you'll need something to show at the beginning of the season was a fluke. So I think they would have to train Georges Niang here, Royce O'Neal, maybe they have to give up if they can avoid that, and then give up more pieces like a Oni and maybe another pick or so, and maybe 2 picks, and that's enough. If I'm the Jazz, I go for it. Last but not least, is this one's a little surprising one. Charlotte. Now here's the reason why. One, it makes sense. He's a North Carolina native, so he gets to go back home and finish playing his career at home. Another reason why is because then he can be a mentor and a leader for veterans, like a veteran leader for like a LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, and Devontae Graham. And those players are nothing to sneeze at all. And when Gordon Hayward's healthy, then that's a pretty good starting 5 right there. That can at least get you in the playoffs in the East. And then if you can get a better bench, then you can see where you can go from there. So that's it for today. Please scratch my tail, tell me a lot about me. And besides my bracket predictions later week, I'm also going to go over a bunch of, big NFL free agency this week is upon us. So be on the lookout for that. It's exciting times. It's a good week this week. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast. Please subscribe to my channel, tell everyone about me. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.